So, today we're gonna start with Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb, or Taleb, however, I don't know, I still don't know. The thing is, this is actually the last book that I think by him that I didn't went through, so if you are interested in The Black Swan, if you're interested in Skin in the Game, if you're interested in The Procrastinated Bad or something it is called, I don't remember. I think I've gone through all of them, I guess at least, I'm actually not quite sure. But I should have, I should have, because his work is amazing, and therefore we're just gonna start and not waste any time. High-level thoughts. Always loved Taleb. I found this book less practical than Anti-Fragile, which I've also gone through, but it lays a conceptual groundwork for Black Swan and Anti-Fragile to warm you up for his next books. And I also like his covers. They are very well done. With looks pretty cool, looks pretty aesthetic, and me as a graphic designer, I appreciate that. Summary notes. Notice how our brain sometimes gets the error of causality backward. Assume that good qualities cause success based on that assumption, even though it seems intuitively correct to think so. The fact that every intelligent, hardworking, persevering person becomes successful does not imply that every successful person is necessarily an intelligent, hardworking, or persevering person. It is remarkable how such a primitive logical fallacy, affirming the consequent, can be made by otherwise very intelligent people, a point I discuss in this edition as the two systems of reasoning problem. Which is something in general that's very interesting, Very, very interesting, And then, I don't know, we can think about luck playing a thing and just some other things, connections, being born in the right family, all those things that are probably then going to play into this whole equation of life, an equation of success, more or less, which is interesting and which is something that we should not be neglecting and should really have a look at, because it is necessary to have a look at, because as we can see, there is things that are happening because of that, great things, bad things, whatnot. Does the book industry suffer from the classical quote-unquote expert problem with the building of rules of thumb that do not have empirical validity? More than a half of million readers later, I am discovering that books are not written for book editors. Yes, indeed, because they're written for fucking people. And it is actually always something to consider. And I think it is one of the most important lessons that I have learned, is that when I'm making something, when I'm making a video, I'm not making it for myself. First of all, because I'm making it for the people. I'm also not making it for advertisements or advertisers. To some degree, maybe later on, because I'm not making any money off of it. As you can see, there's no advertisements or whatnot. But I think in the end, you do have to be, you do have to have certain standards to be applicable for just having ads on your video here. So just no swear words, just nothing that leads the advertisers to be like, well, I don't actually want to have I don't want to have my ads on this channel because there is some image transfer. It's the exact same thing as with sponsoring. If I'm sponsoring an athlete, then I'm just taking advantage, quote unquote, of their image. It's an image transfer, which leads to, okay, if they're fucking up, if they're doping, then my image is also going to be hurt. So I'm going to just kick them off right away, which is kind of the exact same thing. So yeah, in the end, the best thing to do is making something for the end consumer, period. Ask a profitable investor to explain the reasons for his success. He will offer some deep and convincing interpretation of the results. Frequently, these delusions are intentional and deserve to bear the name charlatanism. Well, I'm not quite always sure. There's going to be some rules, there's going to be some good things, but when it is about investing, it is... I don't want to say that it is luck. There is some luck. There's always luck, of course. But in terms of investing, it is perhaps ridding ourselves of our humanity is not in the works. We need willy or wily tricks, not some gracious moralizing help. Well. Selen was wise enough to get the following point, that which came with the help of luck could be taken away by luck, and often rapidly and unexpectedly at that. The flip side, which deserves to be considered as well, in fact, it is even more of our concern, is that things that come with little help from luck are more resistant to randomness. It doesn't matter how frequently something succeeds if failure is too costly to bear. Yeah, but I think, in terms of the very last sentence, it doesn't matter how frequently something succeeds if failure is too costly to bear. I think it also depends on your perspective there. Because, of course, if you're just devastated if something just is not going to work out or is not working out, then I don't know, you have to rethink how you're thinking about the whole thing. In terms of of course, there's going to be some bad things happening, I'm not going to lie. But just don't be devastated if it is not working out as you want it to work out quite, if you get what I mean. But yeah, I still get it. I still get what he's referring to. But another thing, yes, indeed. I mean, if something is solely built with luck or just by having the fortune of having luck or something, then of course luck is gonna come and pull it apart. But if you're just putting just a lot of work and if there's not really a lot of luck, then chances are also better that it is going to be fine in the end. Mild success can be explained by skills and labor. Wild success is attributable to variance. Very interesting. For one cannot consider a profession without taking into account the average of the people who enter it, not the sample of those who have succeeded in it. Yes, because it's going to be a very small portion of these people, those people that are succeeding, they are going to be a small portion of the overall amount of people. Clearly, the quality, it depends on the industry, obviously, and this is what I think is also referring to, there is 1 million YouTubers and, I don't know, 10% of them are successful. But it also just depends on what you think is success. So a lot of different things there, variables. Clearly, the quality of a decision cannot be solely judged based on its outcome, but such a point seems to be voiced only by people who fail. Yes, it's amazing. His wording is amazing, and I appreciate that so much. Thus, if a 25-year-old played Russian roulette once again, because it is also a part in skin in the game, once a year, there would be a very slim possibility of his surviving until his 50th birthday. Yes, because 30 times probabilities are pretty not good. But if there are enough players, say thousands of 25-year-old players, we can expect to see a handful of extremely rich survivors and a very large cemetery. Yes, indeed. A handful. The more there are, the more fail, I guess. Because it's going to be I don't know, it's actually indeed 5% that are going to win and stuff. But yeah. The reader can see my unusual notion of alternative accounting. 10 million earned through Russian roulette does not have the same value as 10 million earned through the diligent and artful practice of dentistry. They are the same, can buy the same goods, except that one's depends on randomness is greater than the other. Dependentness. Is it next? Dependency. It's dependency. Yeah. Or dependence. Well, I don't know. But yes, indeed, and in this case, randomness is not that cool. Reality is far more vicious than Russian roulette. First, it delivers that fatal bullet rather than infrequently, like a revolver that would have hundreds, even thousands of chambers instead of 6. It is also related to a problem called denigration of history, as gamblers, investors, and decision makers feel that the sort of things that happen to others would not necessarily happen to them. Second, unlike a well-defined, precise game like Russian roulette, where the risks are visible to anyone capable of multiplying and dividing by 6, one does not observe the barrel of reality. Yeah, indeed. Russian roulette is just a very calculable risk, isn't it? Of course, you can calculate every risk, but in this case, it is just very easy. I do not dispute that arguments should be simplified to their maximum potential, but people often confuse complex ideas that cannot be simplified into a media-friendly statement as symptomatic of a confused mind. Yeah. I don't know, sometimes it's also a great way to make things look better than they are, I think. I'm sorry, much of what rational thinking seems to do is rationalize one's actions by fitting some logical to them. Completely the case. And I think we as human beings, we're always doing that. Always, all the time. We can see that in people, we can see this in us as well, that we're just doing some bullshit, some really nonsensical bullshit just because, and then it's wow, I've done this because of this and that and these and those, but in the end, or in the very first beginning, it's actually been like, well, it's very nonsensical. In that sense, that mental probabilistic map in one's mind is so geared toward a sensational that one would rationalize information gains by dispensing with the news. This is one of the main reasons that journalism may be the greatest plague we face today. As the world becomes more and more complicated and our minds are trained for more and more simplification. I'm not quite sure. Is the world actually going to be, or is the world actually progressively just complicating? I don't know. For example, people fail to learn that their emotional reactions to past experiences, positive or negative, were short-lived. Yet they continuously retain this bias of thinking that the purchase of an object will bring long-lasting, possibly permanent happiness, or that a setback will cause severe and prolonged distress. When in the past, similar setbacks did not affect them for very long, and they enjoy the purchase, and the joy of the purchase was short-lived. It is always the case. I think it is like history is repeating itself as well. And so, because history is repeating itself, it means that we possibly and probably are also repeating ourselves over and over and over again, which leads to history repeating itself. I think, a theory. Our minds are not quite designed to understand how the world works, but rather to get out of trouble rapidly and have progeny. If they were made for us to understand things, then we would have a machine in it and would run the past history as in a VCR with a correct chronology, and it would slow us down so much that we would have trouble operating. Interesting thoughts, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, motherfucker. A mystic is not something to be determined after the fact, but in the light of the information until that point, and this is amazing. I like that. I don't completely get it, but I feel like it is amazing. And I feel like that some people are going to be like, wow, this is something that I have to hear, or I had to hear. A 15% return with a 10% volatility or uncertainty per annum translates into a 93 probability of success in any given year. But seen at a narrow time scale, this translates into a mere 50% probability of success over any given second, as shown in Taleb 3.1. Over the very narrow time increment, the observation will reveal close to nothing. Yet, the dentist's heart will not tell him that. At the end of every day, the dentist will be emotionally drained. A minute-by-minute examination of his performance means that each day, assuming 8 hours per day, he will have 241 pleasurable minutes against 239 unpleasurable ones. This amounts to 60.68, which is a very interesting number, and 60.271, or is it actually 60,688 and 60,271 respectively per year. Now, realize that if the unpleasurable minutes is worse in reverse pleasure than the pleasurable minute is in pleasure terms, then the dentist incurs a large deficit when examining his performance at a high frequency. Consider the situation when the dentist examines his portfolio only upon receiving the monthly accurate from the brokerage house. As 67% of his months will be positive, he incurs only 4 pangs of pain per annum and 8 uplifting experiences. This is the same dentist following the same strategy. Now consider the dentist looking at his performance only every year. Over the next 20 years that he is expected to live, he will experience 19 pleasant surprise for every unpleasant one. I see. The road from 16 million to 1 million is not as pleasant as the road from 0 to 1 million. In addition, John is full of shame. He still worries about running into old friends on the street. I don't really get what he's referring to. But anyway, how much is left there? Because I'm going to go through the whole one. What is also interesting is that he discovered that we are designed by Mother Nature to have an extremely skewed physical workout. Hunter-gatherers had idle moments followed by bursts of intense energy expenditure at 65. Art is said to have the physique of a man close to half his age. Well, it's indeed actually the case. And I do think that we should take advantage of that, of this knowledge, because, which means that I'm going to do also just high intensity burst workouts. For example, if this makes sense, it's a theory. In theory, it makes sense to just do things as we are designed to do, which is going to be Actually, a lot of walking, because we're designed to walk just such long fucking periods or distances, and yeah, some other shit. If one puts an infinite number of monkeys in front of strongly built typewriters and lets them clap away, there is a certainty that one of them would come out with an exact version of the Iliad. Yes, indeed, the possibility is there. Upon examination, this may be less interesting a concept than it appears at first. Such probability is ridiculously low. But let us carry the reasoning one step beyond. Now that we have found that hero among monkeys, would any reader invest his life savings on a bet that the monkey would write the Odyssey next? The more we're adding to this whole scheme, to this whole pyramid of levels, and the lower the possibility is going to be. But by the way, because of maths, I just truly love possibilities and probabilities. Like, it is insane. It is so interesting things. It's so interesting things. Because in the end, first of all, you can calculate a lot of things, which is an interesting and cool thing. Second of all, I don't know, like, there's the chance of certain things which which I haven't expected to some degree, are either really low or really high. For example, the chance that you're gonna find one person that is loving you is like just, what the fuck? Strange. What's the chance of that? What's the chance of this happening at this point in time? It's like 0. The first count, but the point that I was willing to make is like, it's quite 100. It depends though. If you assume that that it is a 50% chance, then it is going to be 100 straight. But I would have to have a look at what it is just 25%, since, as I've been thinking about it, the chance that a person loves you is 50%. It's either yes or no, 50-50. But additionally to that, the chance of you also loving this person is also 50-50, which means 0.5 times 0.5 is 0.25. But I think it is still going to be very, 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 very high. The possibility of at least one person loving you, or just being in a relationship with one person, if this makes sense. The first counterintuitive point is that a population entirely composed of bad managers will produce a small amount of great track records. I mean, probability and possibility is pretty high that it is going to be the case, but still, I get his point. Nobody accepts randomness in their success, only their failures. Sometimes I feel like I have to highlight everything because it's amazing. A single random rule is bound to exhibit some pattern if one looks hard enough. There may be great information in the fact that nothing took place. As Sherlock Holmes noted in the Silver Blaze case, the curious thing was the dog did not bark. More problematic, there are plenty of scientific results that are left out of publications because they are not statistically significant, but nevertheless provide information. Book sales witness a similar effect, exploding once they cross a significant level of word of mouth. Word of mouth is an amazing thing. Really, really amazing thing. Like, it's still kind of driving the economy to some degree, at my point of view. When you take a gamble to say, do you say, my net worth will end up 99,000 or 101,500 after the gamble? Or do you say, I lose 1K or 1.5K? Your attitude towards the risk and reward of the gamble will vary according to whether you look at your net worth or changes in it. It's always about perspective. It is easier for your brain to detect differences rather than absolutes. Hence, rich or poor will be above the minimal level in relation to something else. Yes, always. There is a category of people, generally finance academics, who instead of fitting their actions to their brains, fit their brains to their actions. I think we all do that. The American is expected to live 73 years. Therefore, if you're 68, you can expect to live 5 more years and should plan accordingly. She went into precise prescriptions of how the person should invest for a 5 more years horizon. Now, what if you're 80? Is your life expectancy minus 7 years? No, it's not. Percentage moves are the size of the headlines. In addition, the interpretation is not linear. A 2% move is not twice as significant as an event as 1%. It is rather like 4 to 10 times. A 7% move can be several billion times more relevant than a 1% move. The headline of the Dow moving by 1.3 points on my screen today has less than 1 billionth of the significance of the serious 7% drop off October 1997. Totally the case. The public person most visibly endowed with such a trait is George Soros. One of his strengths is that he revises his opinion rather than rapidly without the slightest embarrassment. What characterizes real speculators like Soros from the rest is that their activities are devoid of path dependency. They are totally free from their past actions. Every day is a clean slate. Which leads to think about sunk cost. My lesson from Soros is to start every meeting at my boutique by convincing everyone that we are a bunch of idiots who know nothing and are mistake prone, but happen to be endowed with the rare privilege of knowing it. That's great. The only article by Lady Fortune has no control over is your behavior. Good luck. It was amazing. Another way to see the beastly aspect of schedules and rigid projections is to think in limited citations. Would you like to know who committed the crime before the beginning of the movie? Actually, would it be better if the length of movies were kept a secret? Yes. I think it is also, by the way, a great idea to just not have a look at the trailer. At my point of view, because, you're spoiling yourself and stuff. But in terms of the length, I do have a feeling that the lower the amount of knowledge or information that you're having about something, the less the less you already have an opinion on it, which is a good thing. Because if you believe that something is bad, then it is going to be bad. If you believe that something is not bad, then beforehand, or it's not going to be that worse or that bad, then it is also not going to be that bad. It took me an entire lifetime to find out what my generation is. We favor the visible, the embedded, the personal, the narrated, and the tangible. We scorn the abstract, everything good, aesthetics and ethics and wrong, fooled by randomness, with us seems to flow from it. Amazing thing. And with that being said, I'm going to end the episode. My voice is a little sore, and I am sorry for the noises in the background. If there are any noises in the background, I hope not, because, there is some audio thing you can do. I hope this is going to be fine, because it's an amazing book, an amazing thing indeed. And yeah, I wish you the best health, happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself and you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person, and then also being remembered as a nice person, which is a pretty cool thing. On the other hand, 3 questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change, and what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, which is a pretty cool thing. Another question that I'm having for you is: what could you particularly say? I'm gonna underline that say to somebody else, but you could also do things, you could also build something, but what could you particularly say to somebody else that is just gonna make their day? Because I believe from the bottom of my heart that you could do something. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna end this episode. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I've gained another subscriber today, which is amazing for me. At this point in time, I'm at 51 from 0. Just besides the fact that I think 3 subscriptions are by myself, other ones are friends and stuff and whatnot. But I appreciate that, and I'm really happy about that. And yeah, thank you very much for everything. I'm hopefully going to see you the next time. So bye. Please stay cool and please stay healthy. I wish you the best.